cosmic beings, welcome back. This is our first official episode. Last week was just a little introduction for Victoria and I. We are so thankful for those who kind of tuned in last week, who subscribed, who did all the things, liked us, left little comments. We're so appreciative. Towards the end of that video last week, I mentioned that going forward, I have my handy dandy little Wheel of Fortune, if you will, tarot card reference, actually. So,
So crazy.
I know. And after I mentioned to Victoria, we were going through some topics, and after we hung up the other day, I actually went in and added more. So there's tons, but it's good because if we go through one and then it was just like a short little blip, we can spin again. And who doesn't love another spin? All right. So maybe eventually we'll do one of these with like prizes for our followers or something fun.
Please,
I like the wheel.
giveaway.
We love a giveaway. So I figured that would be really, really fun. So we can do that. But I think other than the thank yous, if Victoria, you want to add anything real quick before we do a little spin, you're more than welcome to.
I'll just bandwagon and say thank you, thank you, thank you for all the views and, little subscriber family, even, little followers on our Instagram as well.
Yeah, may it
So,
continue to grow and prosper and we build our little cosmic community. We're
yes.
so grateful. I realized when we were recording and upgrading and updating that you couldn't hear my nail clacks, which has made my tears shed a little bit, even with my microphone. So just know that they're click clacking away for when we agree on something. Okay? Okay. So let's dive right in. What is the topic today? You want to count me down, Vic?
Yes, three, two, one.
Boop. You can't hear it because I had to turn my sound off for this, but let's see what it lands on. Judgment.
Oh my God, stop. I needed that one. Okay, go ahead.
It's so funny because literally like in the way we ended our last episode was like a little bit of tea and shade, but like not really tea and shade, love and light, but like tea and shade. So judgment being this week's topic is just
I'm excited.
so interesting. Considering your level of excitement and your reaction to this, I think it's really funny. And I think you should take us right off. What is
No.
your conscious view, your tea, what do you feel about judgment? Give me your definition of judgment. Give me your experience of judgment, self-judgment, judgment with others.
No. So
What
I
do you
keep watching
feel?
these like videos on TikTok where it's like we listen and we don't judge. But like
Yes.
everyone's like silently judging. It's like we
I
listen and we
love
do judge. Like
Yeah, I love when I see the ones with parents and parents are like fuming on the inside and we're like, we're
no,
listening, don't judge.
my favorite one was this one lady. It was like a generation. So it was grandma, mom, and then like daughter. So
Yeah, I think I might know which one you're
yeah,
talking
and the
about.
grandma was saying some crazy stuff, and then like the mom was saying some crazy stuff, and the grandma was just looking at the mom like,
Wait, do we need to do a listen and we don't judge right now?
"Oh
I
my
feel like
God,
we might have to,
stop."
I might have to think of some things to be honest,
That's gonna
but
take me some time because I feel like
it's
I
all right.
don't.
As we talk about this, if any pop in, we'll include it.
We'll have a little moment.
I want to hear your opinion about judgment first and go on with your story and we'll come back to that.
Okay, I know like judgment. It's like, okay, it's not like it's kind of negative. It's a negative vibe. It's not very
This girl said kinda negative.
okay because like constructive criticism is a form of judgment, but in a positive
Fair.
way.
That's
You get what I'm
fair.
saying?
Yeah, it's just
So,
sugarcoating opinion, isn't it?
well, yeah, judgment is an opinion at the end of the
It's
day.
constructive criticism is basically just like, you suck, but here's how you can get better.
Exactly. But it helps. It helps. I am one that, like, while I am very much stubborn, I am one that will sometimes, it depends on what it is, sometimes take good constructive criticism. But judgment, like when you sit there and you're just like, oh, I could
Well, yeah,
never.
there's different tiers of judgment, aren't there?
Yes.
There's like and it's the intention in the way in which you're saying it. So to me, there's judgment where it's like, like I hate that girl's outfit. Like she looks terrible,
Yeah.
little meh, whatever. And then, but there's also like, oh, like there's like observing and like taking note and like forming an opinion. So I could be like, so for example, Victoria's sweater today. I would probably never buy and wear that sweater personally.
Excuse
That's no
you.
sh that well that's exactly that's the point. It's how you receive it.
No,
I'm
I
not
know.
saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying I wouldn't take that as it
Yeah.
resonates kind of thing. So I think it's important to be aware that when someone casts what you perceive as judgment on you, it really has nothing to do with you. It's just contrast showing I like this thing or I don't like this thing. This is for me. This is not for me. But I think a lot of people, it's the way in which you say it. Like if I was like, Victoria, that's the ugliest freaking sweat I've ever seen in my damn life. Like you'd probably be like, yeah, right, like ready to fight at any moment. Like it's easy to take that personal because of the way you're saying it. So I think it's just important to be mindful, or if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, kind of thing.
Well,
Keep your
it's
opinion.
also it
Oh,
also has to do with a lot of like the person's like insecurities.
yeah.
Because if somebody tells me like for example, okay, in middle school, right? A lot of guys would tell me I'm ugly. I'm not saying I'm the like most gorgeous person in the world or anything like that. Like I am not self-centered whatsoever. But I damn well
You're
know
gonna get
I'm
it's
not.
it's a trigger differently though if it
Right.
strikes a nerve.
But
Yeah.
for me, like I wouldn't get insulted. I would literally just be like, that's the only thing you have to say to me, like that I'm
Yeah.
ugly. So I would come back to it like whatever. But
Yeah.
somebody who isn't secure with that would take the fact that they're being called ugly and take that as an insult, and that will like hurt them or affect them
Well,
in a certain
yeah, and it's
way.
usually if they already feel that way about themselves and
Exactly.
someone confirms it, it's easy to blame that other person. I can relate to that a lot because I was called fat like all the
Mm,
time growing up. And like I started to more in my adult years be like, yeah, I am. And like if like, okay,
yeah.
it's
So
literally like you have anything else to say, but like if that's how you feel about me, cool. If that's enough for you not to want to be my friend, okay. Like it just has absolutely nothing to do with me just because like
exactly.
and I'm not going to let it shake me. But you're right. When you're insecure and it's something that bothers you about yourself already, it's going to like hit differently. We had like Ask FM way back when, and it was anonymous. So people would like judge me because I was Jewish or judge me because I was
Yeah.
overweight. And so it's like, I think that it's a very human thing to experience the emotion of judgment because it's a result of your ego. So if your ego wants to protect its sense of self, its grandiosity, if you
Hmm.
will, it's going to put other people down to be
Yeah.
like, I'm the best of the best. But when you realize we're all the same, it's like you're just hurting yourself being in that energy of judgment at that
But like
point.
another thing that I will have to say, it's like your biggest haters are truthfully your biggest fans. And it's
Facts.
crazy because it's like the people that like talk about you all the time are constantly hating on you, judging you and all that stuff are either like I said, your biggest fans or just entirely envious of your life or they're just miserable human beings, you know. There's
Yeah,
three
it's
options in there, but
yeah, it's funny you say that because I was talking to my friend Manny about this the other day, and he basically was like, you know, haters are haters, but like your name is still in my mouth, and like any press is good press, and that's how I
yeah.
kind of view it too. It's like, yeah, but like you're still obsessed with me.
Yeah.
You're leaving the hate comments, but like you're paying attention to me.
Well,
You
you
know what I
took the
mean?
time to watch that video or look at that post and then take the time, the extra time on top of the time that you already took to
Yeah, I can still,
comment
yeah,
that you're
yeah.
ugly or something like along those lines. Like, really? Come on, guys.
I
Like,
love those haters because I'm someone who will ever for be like, thank you so much. That was so helpful. I
yeah.
appreciate that so greatly. I strongly disagree, but thank you so much for taking the time to comment that. And that
It's really just an
riles
opinion.
people up. And
Yeah.
they're like, it's like, okay, if that's the place you're in, really all that tells me is that you're judging and hating on yourself and you're using me as the
Yeah,
outlet.
they're literally projecting their feelings on themselves. And it's
Yeah.
sad. It's like, come on. Like, let's like I'm not saying I don't judge people because I do. I will have to
Uh,
say
I confirm that a thousand
I
billion percent.
I do judge people.
Hello?
I do.
You're like, that's sad, but like I do it all the time.
But one thing I don't do is judge people behind their back. Like if I'm gonna judge someone, I'm going no, I dead ass will tell you what I said, just and then go ahead and continue to judge. But like that's
I
just
would
who I
like to
am.
believe that in you, but I don't
I
fully believe that
swear,
in
no,
you.
I swear every single time that I'm having like judgment on someone or whatever, I will still bring it up to that person at some point. Like I'm gonna tell them like this is what I'm judging you on right
See,
now.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna be so freaking for real. I absolutely have judged people in the privacy of my own home with myself and not said a damn thing. Okay. Because to me, I don't feel the need, if I experience that, because I'm aware of the fact that it's something going on with me deeper, if I'm really like mad
Yeah.
about it, if I'm like ranting or angry, like it's not constructive for me to go express it to that person. And if I really feel that strongly in judgment towards that person, I'm just not even going to have them in my life. So there's no need for me to like go
Yeah.
and do all that. Now, if they're always coming to me and they're like, Chloe, like, why don't you talk to me anymore? I'm just going to simply be like, to be honest, I didn't resonate or agree with how you are and be or
Yeah, like
act in
yeah.
XYZ. I'm not interested in kind of continuing anymore. That's just me being flat and straight, like
Yeah.
no hate, no hate. I don't have a personal, it's
Hmm.
not a personal problem. I just noticed that we don't really mesh in that way. We're not really compatible because we have
Hmm.
two very strongly different beliefs about things. Now, I think that that's on a deeper like level of someone's character. If I'm judging someone's character in the way that they move, I could just be like, no, I gotta go.
Yeah.
But I think that over the years, because I was someone who had to go through a lot of self-love and confidence journey, I don't judge people solely based on the outside anymore because I know that it has actually really nothing to do with who they are as a person. Because
Mhm.
you could be like really attractive in my eyes, and I'm not judging you for how you look, but then I will judge you for the way that you act. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like vice versa. And I could be
Yeah.
surprised. So I think right now I'm someone when I notice that emotion, I use it as kind of like an indicator for how I feel about that energy that that person is putting out and
Yeah.
whether or not usually it's like if my body is doing that thing where it's like, I just take it as a cue to leave it alone. Or I take a little self check and I'm like, is this thing I don't like about this person something that I have that I don't like about me that I need to learn to embrace
Hmm.
and accept and love despite, it's like a fine line. It's like, can you still love and be in a relationship with someone despite that thing that you judge? But also
Right.
at the same time, if it's that big of a thing and it's that big of a contradiction to who you are as a person, sometimes you got to love it and let it go. And it
Hmm.
just doesn't need to be in that level of your life. But I think there's little habits and things that people do where I'm like, couldn't be me.
I'm the type of person where like I have to express myself on things. I can't keep quiet on how I feel about things. Like, and I know that's just like me. Like, it's not just a me thing, but like I can't stay quiet. So therefore,
No,
if
you
I
are
don't
probably
like something,
you're one of the more unfiltered people
yeah,
that I've
if I
met
don't
in
like
my life.
something, I'm sorry.
Gonna
Like,
make it
I'm gonna
known,
tell you. Like,
whether
I'm
you want to hear it
not,
or not.
yeah, like I'm not a talker. Like I'm not gonna sit here and talk shit. I'm gonna tell you this is what's up. This is what I
Yeah,
don't
I
like.
th I think it's different when I say like I will very much judge in private and like talk about people behind their backs. I think like I don't gossip kind of goes along with this concept, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where if you're with a bunch of people and you're casting judgment on someone and you're like going in, right?
Hmm.
Like you're just ripping this person to shreds in any way that you're doing it. And it's going on for a long period of time. I don't do that because that's not for the greater good for myself or
No,
other
yeah, yeah, yeah.
people. I think that I'm someone who like anybody reacts to things
Hmm.
sometimes and has to be mindful about how they're responding and what that is stemming from. So I feel
Yeah.
like I'm someone who, like if my family member, let's say, is doing something, I'd be lying if I say that I'm not sitting there with my mom, like, why is she doing that? No, no, no. You know what I mean? But I think that ultimately I'm not saying that what they're doing is necessarily good or bad, but even if I view it as, maybe right or wrong in my view, that doesn't mean that I can recognize that that's my ego and that they're
Yeah.
just making choices that I wouldn't make. Doesn't
Hmm.
mean it's necessarily a terrible thing or that they need to be reprimanded or that I need to tell them about themselves. Because at the end of the day, my goal is not to try to change other people. It's just to help. It's for me to get more clear on what I want, what I resonate with, then I can carry about my business.
I agree. I definitely
Yeah.
agree. I will have to say, can we like normalize not judging people based on their like income and their, schooling and
Well, yeah, I mean,
degrees?
I think it's such a greater thing, right? Because ultimately, our whole economic system is based on tiers and hierarchy.
Yeah.
So I think that there is so much of that that already exists. But I think that what people forget is that what matters the most is how you treat people. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, money comes and goes, education increases or decreases. Everyone has their own experience. We can't discredit
I
that.
I
And you
literally
limit yourself to
no.
the types of positive experiences you can have in life
Hmm.
when you prejudge.
Yeah, no, I got bullied in middle school for not having an iPhone and for not
Yeah,
having like the
it's just not your fault
latest
even. Yeah.
the latest what was the trend back then? That like Hollister like
Oh
little,
yeah, for
you know what I'm talking
sure.
about? That little like flower shirt that everybody had
Oh my
and the
God.
Hollister jeans. You know what I'm
Yes.
talking about? That little beachy vibe. I literally got judged for my clothes. I'm like,
It's interesting because yours is
please.
probably like, maybe your family couldn't afford it at that time or things like that.
It wasn't even that. My mom and dad, if they needed to, they would have splurged, like no problem. And I mean, it wasn't even expensive like that. Like it's not like a Gucci bag or something like that.
Yeah.
But
My
it
mom
was,
wasn't about to buy me $50 jeans. Are you
well,
crazy?
it was me. It was me. I was like, I
I don't like it.
I don't
See,
need it. Like,
mine was opposite. I couldn't fit into
oh man,
Abercrombie.
yeah.
So in Hollister. So, I think that for me, where I was probably judged for things, mine was like I wanted UGG boots, but all my mom could get me was like Bear Paws. And I think that
Okay.
what it does is like other people putting that judgment and hierarchy on things that are like this is status, right? Like if you're someone who
Mm-hmm.
cares about what's trending, what it does is it takes away all the positive emotion of just appreciation and gratitude. And
Oh, I
that's
didn't
really
care.
well, that's what we want to be living in, right? Is just,
Yeah.
instead of saying to my mom, like, thank you, these boots are so comfortable and they're cute. And even though they're not the exact ones that everyone else has, like, I'm still grateful. I viewed it as like, Mom, I can't wear these out. I'm going to be like judged. And like that becomes the dominant energy. And that's like
Yeah.
sad, especially for parents who try to give everything to their children
It
and
was
feel like it's never
crazy.
enough.
Right. It was crazy for me though, because when I first got into middle school, I didn't care. I shopped at Walmart. I shopped at Ross. Like that
Yo,
was my
Walmart's
vibe.
popping off nowadays too.
Now, yeah, back then, I mean, they had some like decent stuff, yeah, but like I didn't care. I was like, I'll go shop. And I was also really, really
I
skinny
I
that
was
like I
wearing blazers in middle school. Like,
not the
come on. You think I cared about
blazers.
being judged? I wore like a
Not the
purple tee that said
blazers.
something in French, like I knew anything in French, and I had a blazer. I was
Yeah,
like, fashion who?
so I would wear like Ross, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, like all that. Till
Yeah,
this day, I still wear TJ Maxx. Like I don't care and all those.
hear
But
you.
that was like my thing. And then I started going to school, and I had an Android at the time to make it, the cherry on top. Everybody had
I think I,
iPhones.
I think that's still the place that I still judge because if my text message sends to you and it's a green bubble, get out of my life.
No, literally now,
There really is
now.
now like people don't care. I think like I don't actually like have an issue with that, but I think there's always a part of me that's like mm.
Why is it green?
It's a little shady. I'm
No,
like,
but
eh.
now with the update, now you can actually see when like it's delivered and when it's read. So I do
No, but
like
it's
that.
very, but like that thought of me being like, it was never mine. That was put on me.
Oh
That was
yeah.
like my friends
Yeah.
being like, ew. And then I think I never
Yeah.
shook it, but it's not like I won't talk to someone who has like an Android or anything. But I
Yeah.
think that I think for me, the reason I'm like meh about it is because like I want to be able to FaceTime. And if you can't FaceTime me, get out. Like I just don't
Yeah.
care. So,
Yeah.
like what? You're gonna WhatsApp video? Get out of here. If we're not like I want to feel like if a man's like, oh yeah, like I can't FaceTime you, like I can only text because I have like a Samsung. I'm gonna be like, yeah, this was so great. Thank you so much. Have a great life.
But it's crazy because they're literally like the same price
Yeah,
now, like
I mean
nowadays.
it really doesn't matter now. I think that
Yeah.
back then it was definitely like a status thing. But no,
Back then,
I
you
can
if you had an
definitely
iPhone or a BlackBerry, like that was like the
yeah.
it. You were in the it
Yeah, I mean,
gang.
I had an iPod for a long time before I actually got an iPhone, but as someone who studied fashion in college, Judgment was very present in my life much into my adult
Yeah.
years. You know,
Yeah.
like that industry is Judgment. Like if
Well,
it's not designer, like it's trash type of
for
thing.
me, it was like, so from elementary school when was about to start middle school, they had like a program where like I think it was something like if you were having good grades, like the school that was next for me was a D school at the time. So they
Okay.
were offering a program for like anyone in the county
Mm,
to go to like A schools, basically.
okay.
The A school that I was assigned to was more of like a upper class school.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were shoved into Judgment our whole lives
Yeah.
because we had gifted kids in,
Well,
first grade.
yeah, so I started and I was fine. I was like, okay, like I don't care. Like I saw these girls with their Hollister jeans and their,
Yeah.
like whatever, like the Hollister, you remember the flip-flops with the little like flower on it or whatever and the like you remember the Hollister ones with like the
When I tell you, I never even wanted to go in Abercrombie or Hollister because I hated the smell. So when I tell
Oh,
you, I
I
think I've
loved
only been
it.
in those stores like twice in my whole life. I'm not kidding.
Well, so like my point is like
I'd
all these
walk by
girls,
it, like, keep me away from there. I
well, all
went in
these
twice for
girls
like my friend.
right. So all these girls had these like little ruffle, like, the skirts and the shirts and all
Oh,
this
I have
stuff.
PTSD.
And
It was,
then
I know,
the
I remember
guys,
that.
right. And then the guys were wearing like Diamond Supply and like all, like, do you remember Diamond Supply? And then they had JanSport backpacks. And I came in with a
I
Transport.
remember when I went to Douglas and I was like, I thought I was so cute with my little like purse book bag. And I looked around and I was like,
These
everyone has
girls had
JanSport. I went
Louis
home to my mom.
Vuittons.
Yeah, I went home to my mom's office. I was like, I need a
No,
JanSport.
when I was in when I started high school, it was Michael Kors bags, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, by the time that I was a senior, it turned into Louis Vuitton tote bags.
And that's South Florida, baby.
And I was like, huh? Like,
Yeah,
hello?
never.
But I remember
It's
there was Maseratis in the parking lot. I was like,
Yeah, we
"Ooh."
lived in a different beast. Well, it's interesting, right? Because it's easy to like at that time sit like victims, right? Like you guys are judging me because I don't have this, but at the same time, I was like, I'm judging you because you have it, and you're judging
Right.
me
No,
because
it
you
was
have it.
like
So it's like
either
it's
party.
still
Yeah. We were
you're
all
still doing
judging
it.
because I was like, why are I was definitely one of those girls that I was like, ew, why are these girls walking around with Louis Vuitton bags for as book bags? But still till this day, why if y'all know who I'm talking, these people that I'm talking about, because I know that you guys are probably gonna watch my this video. But if y'all like see these bags and think, let me put my pens and my
I was
pencils
gonna
in my
say like the lip gloss spilling
$1,100
out. Yeah,
bags,
no.
you're crazy. It was my JanSport backpacks that had like little like stains and stuff, and I was like, oh my
Holes.
God, yeah, like
Douglas was like outside too. So like I had to put my bag on the ground
and
a
that yeah,
lot.
and then these girls would put because we didn't have a place to put backpacks, or these purses, so they would put these purses on the classroom floor.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because you're seeing them and judging them for how they're treating this thing that you don't have, that you're judging them for having, but wish you had. And it's
Yes.
a very interesting thing. And I think that I'm someone at a pretty young age, especially going into college and learning about designer. And I not only learned like the make of some of these things, but
Yeah.
the merchandising of some of these things. And there are
Right.
very few brands that you're actually paying for the quality versus the name, right? And the
Right. Yeah.
brand.
The brand.
So
Yeah.
I feel like I came to this understanding that like status is so stupid
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not gonna pay, you know, $500 for a bag that was manufactured in the same shop or factory that the one that $20 is manufactured in. I
That's
learned about
crazy work.
materials. It's crazy work, but I was lucky enough to happen to study where I can go through a store and tell you in an instant if that's worth the price that you're paying. You're not paying for anything other than the fact that it's like on the runway or like
Mm-hmm.
praised on a level because you know someone no different than me is sitting on this runway being like, yeah, that's it. that's the one, everyone should get it. And then they are like, it's just opinions. So
Yeah.
it's like if you can recognize different strokes for different folks, and I'm not gonna put anything above anything
Yeah.
else. If you like it, that's great. If I don't like it, that's great. Vice versa, then it's
Hmm.
not that deep. I'm
Yeah.
not going to sit there feeling bad and stressed because I don't have the thing that everyone else has. Why would
Right.
I cast that on myself just because everyone else is? I'm grateful for all the things I have, no matter how much they cost. And I'm grateful
Right.
for the things that don't cost anything that
Hmm.
I just have. So, it's definitely interesting judgment, especially not only in the material world of like goods,
Yeah.
but in terms of even how people behave.
Hmm.
It all just provides clarity for yourself. And if you can
Yeah.
detach yourself from it and just recognize it for what it is, you start to feel better. And then I've noticed I've actually attracted people in my life who are not so judgmental because I'm not being so judgmental. Like I'm
Right.
just listening with open ears. And then, you create better relationships
Yeah.
that way because you're not putting anyone down.
I agree.
Yeah,
I can't
honestly.
always control it, but I agree.
You're like, you stupid.
No, it's just sometimes people just do things, and I'm like, why are you the way that you are? But it's okay.
Oh, I think there's a difference in questioning why people the way they are and flat out judging them. I ask
Yeah.
myself why all the time. I'm like, why? But then I can answer my own question. They're not me.
Yeah.
They're not me. Why? They're not me. They don't think the same way as me. They didn't experience life the same way that I did. We're
They don't
just
have the same
different.
views.
I love agree to disagree. You think that
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here, we could very lightly touch on politics and the division of that, right?
Hmm.
I could very well sit here and be like, I'm judging you because you voted for someone that I didn't vote for,
Right.
let's say, right? Now, I could be angry about that. And because your belief threatens my sense of belief, I feel like I have to change your belief in order to feel better, right? So
I
I'm going to
just feel like that's
hammer
it.
down.
Yeah, that's just how the world works at this point. It's
Oh
everyone
my
trying to
gosh.
change everyone's viewpoints.
When I learned that agreeing to disagree is
Hmm.
the key to peace and freedom, oh, thank God, because now I don't feel an urge to try to change other people's
I
beliefs.
just
I may
feel
wonder, I may
right.
ask, I may inquire out of curiosity, but if I find that I'm getting upset and reacting in any type of way, I'm like, Chloe, save yourself. It's
Yeah,
just
just
not
like
worth
leave it
it.
alone. Yeah, I also feel like, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I'm not, I mean, it's so, a healthy little debacle is okay too. Like,
Yeah.
but once like real emotions start getting in the way, like now you're not trying to educate no one. You got to just step aside. You got to step
Life's
aside.
too short to be arguing about things that we
Yeah,
view
yeah.
differently. It's
Dude.
okay to accept and allow
Yeah.
people to be who they are, knowing that it has nothing to do with you. But our
Yeah.
ego takes it as a threat.
Yeah.
It's like if you have any doubt in yourself about
Mm-hmm.
anything and someone else challenges you with something of the opposite than what you believe, and you have that doubt in you, you're going to fight or flight defend
Yeah.
because to me, like, even, take religion in this example, there are certain religions that go out and essentially try to convert other religions. To
Yeah.
me, if you were so confident about your religion, you wouldn't have to push it on me.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, if you're good in who you are and you're confident in what you believe, you don't have to explain yourself to me.
Yeah.
You believe that.
You
Cool.
believe that.
Great. I
Hmm.
don't. But if you're sitting there like, you're gonna believe what I believe, and I'm like, okay, let's simmer down. It's just not that
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah. No,
Save
I agree.
yourself.
I agree. I agree. Because it turns into war, essentially. War of the mind, war of the soul, war of everything.
Yeah,
It's
it's like,
like,
at what point is a conflict good for yourself or others? Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's all ego. It all just stems in fear and lack in some
Hmm.
way or another, and it doesn't even help.
Yeah.
Was mentioning to Victoria, I wanted to spin the wheel to see what other theme kind of went in with this, just to kind of wrap it up. And I spun it while you and I were getting back on here, and it landed on self-love, which actually fits in so well with
With
judgment.
judgment, yeah.
So I will kind of sum up my views on this, and then you could do yours, and then we'll end it for the day. But essentially, I found it interesting that it landed on self-love because at the end of the day, usually when you're casting judgment on someone else,
Hmm.
it's because you're judging yourself.
Yeah.
And so when you notice that emotion come up in you to put down or to even disagree with someone else, understanding that nothing is personal. What anyone else is doing is not to directly hurt or harm you or put you down in any which way. It's just a reflection of what's going on in their inner world. So the biggest act of self-love that you can do when you experience judgment from other people or you're judging yourself, in my opinion, is to remind yourself that you are whole and complete and good as you are, and all is
Hmm.
well and nothing is going wrong. Everything's working out for you. If you experience contrast in your life to any degree, standing firm in what you believe in and staying confident, not needing to defend or explain yourself to anybody, being calm in how you respond to people who have different opinions of you. At the end of the day, we're all people. We all are going to
Yeah.
think and believe different things, and that's okay. That's what's kind of beautiful about the world is none of us are the same.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a very fun little way to kind of tie it back into self-love because ultimately you need to have an understanding of what judgment is to know what true love is. You have to have the contrast. One couldn't exist without the other.
Hmm.
So it's cool that I feel like the universe sent us those two parallels right towards the end there. They're like, what's the opposite of judgment? Self-love,
Self-love.
baby.
Man, no, I do agree with that though. Like you, and I feel like a lot of us struggle with self-love.
Yeah.
I definitely haven't reached the point where I'm like, I really do love myself yet. I do
Okay.
try to have some
That's
compassion.
honest.
Yeah, I do try to have some compassion with myself and not beat myself up too much, but like there are days where I'm like a little judgy on myself, a little too judgy on myself, if I have to say.
Yeah. Well, that's like
Um,
conditioning too, which is a topic for another day, probably on our wheel as well.
yeah.
But I do feel like those intrusive voices that we have that are judging things that we're doing, learning how to validate yourself is very
Hmm.
important because if you can validate yourself, you don't need to seek validation from others, which is where judgment
Hmm.
usually
Right.
coexists.
That deserves a nail clack.
Not me being woke and judgment free.
But yeah, no, definitely. Self-love is definitely a journey. It's a beautiful one, I will have to say. It's a long one if you
It
know,
can be.
it
I
can
think
be a long one.
learning to accept all aspects of yourself without judgment. You have to, a lot of the times we don't know how to do that if we've never had anyone in our lives who's done that,
Yeah.
right? Like we have to, it's something I kind of learned in therapy for myself and through my own spiritual journey is if I was thinking a certain way for the last 25 years of my life, it's not going to all of a sudden never come up again
Yeah.
in 2 years. It's an active process, but you're choosing to love yourself by recognizing that the thoughts that you're thinking and the way in which you're speaking to yourself is not stemming from love.
Yeah.
And when you can learn to be aware of what your inner monologue is like, so you can consciously change the way you speak into yourself, that's a way that's more empowering, more compassionate, more empathetic, more kind. You end up treating others in that same way, and you just feel better all around.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely I have to say that.
Patience,
Yeah.
grace, like that all goes
Yeah.
along with it.
Like don't beat yourself up if you like for example, I'll do try to set a bunch of alarms to wake up at a certain time. There's days that I
Me,
wake up. Yeah, there's days that I wake up and there's days that I don't and I snooze them and whatnot. And recently I've learned to like not sit there and beat myself up because I slept
yeah.
past my alarm or
Well,
whatever.
odds are you needed the sleep. I
Yeah.
almost think about it in the way where like if I was doing what you were doing, right, and I overslept, you
Hmm.
wouldn't be like, Chloe, you sat
Right.
wake up, you overslept, you idiot. Like you wouldn't speak to your kid that way. You
Yeah.
wouldn't speak to your friend that way. You wouldn't speak to your partner that way. So why are we speaking to
To
ourselves that
ourselves
way?
that way. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Like
No,
I
we
view whoever my partner is, if they're sleeping and they now it's different if they have to go somewhere. I'll gently wake
okay,
them up,
yeah.
but
Hey,
if you have
how
the
you
time and you're
doing?
yeah, like, hey, didn't you have a thing you had to go to? But like
Yeah.
to me, if you have the time, And I know even if you probably wanted to get up and do something, but like, let's say you felt like you didn't really need to, but you wanted to. If I see your little cherub angel face deep in sleep, I wouldn't make you feel bad for staying asleep.
Wake
I'd leave
up!
you there. Well,
Wake
yeah.
up!
So to me, the same way I wouldn't, if I knew I could sleep in and rest and I
Hmm.
needed it, and I would expect someone to view me that way and leave me be and not be hard on me and judge me for that, I'm going to do the same thing for
Yeah.
myself. Come on.
No, yeah,
But I think that
100%.
if you're used to talking to yourself in that way, like it's like strapping your boots on, but I hate that saying because it's like, oh my God, like strap my boots. I want to like
No.
kick myself and you. I don't want to put on boots. I want to be in my fuzzy socks in my bed. Leave me be.
No, I think this year I've gotten a lot better on just not beating myself up if I didn't get to something or if I didn't do what I planned on doing that day. Um, I just kind of look at myself and I'm like, no, you do it
Yeah,
tomorrow.
it's not
Do it
that
later.
deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also recognizing that to try to stop beating yourself up, you being mad that you're beating yourself up is still beating yourself up.
Hmm.
So to me, it's just catching yourself in it and choosing differently and
Yeah.
not thinking about either which way too
No,
much.
just be like,
It's
okay, we'll
accepting.
try again tomorrow,
Yeah,
you
it's like,
know?
Victoria, I see the inner monologue that's happening. Me, hey, we're not going to talk to ourselves like that. That's not
Yeah.
very helpful. I probably needed the sleep. Tomorrow's a new day. If I want to wake
Hmm.
up early, I will. But like if I don't, that's fine too.
Yeah.
And then you kind of come back to yourself a little bit and it feels better.
Feels
But I
good.
do think that it's a very human experience having these inner thoughts and
Yeah.
especially dealing with other people. And I would just encourage our listeners to just be aware of how they're talking to themselves and other people. And hopefully they enjoyed our perspectives on judgment and self-love and can, take in note for themselves how they feel and they kind of enjoyed this topic because I think it's
Yeah.
very present
Hmm.
in day-to-day life and it's very real. We want to thank you all for watching
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you next
See you
time.
next time. Woo-hoo.